What's up, everybody? Welcome to Save the Twist podcast. I am your host, Darissa, but you can call me D. Now, today, we were supposed to say, let's talk about it. We're still going to talk about it, but we're really going to talk about when faith meets culture. So, first and foremost, if you have not seen it, you've been living under a rock. I know you have heard and or seen The Dress. I believe her name is Carrie Bryant. I think that's her name. I'm like, let me pull it up. Yeah, Dr. Carrie Bryant. She is the wife of Jamal Bryant, who is a pastor in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. So, here's what had happened was, they went to United Negro College Fund. She wore a dress. A non-revealing yet revealing dress. Catch my drift? Here's the picture. So she wore this dress and the Black Christian community just went up in arms over this dress. Now, she's received criticism. I know within the Kojic Church, only one pastor per se, Bishop Wooden, said something across the pulpit because Jamal Bryant addressed this across the pulpit. And Bishop Wooden, what he said, I understood what he was trying to say, but the word choice he used wasn't the best because we do not want to refer to any woman, regardless if she's doing it, as a $2 happy hooker. Insert word you want to say yourself. But this dress has caused a lot of controversy, and I want to talk about it because a lot of people are saying, you know, she's lowering the standards of first ladies and, you know, women in general who are, you know, faith-based or whatever. However, I kind of want to challenge that a little bit. First and foremost, style. When did a style of dress become Christian commentary? Now, I get it. You saw the dress. It's sleeveless, but it's the flesh tone that got me. That's the thing for me. Because, hey, she got a body. But I'm also going to say this, and this is, I don't care if it ruffles your feathers. I really don't. But Jamal Bryant's first wife that we know of, she wore not a similar outfit when they went to this same event when they were married, but she had a very daring, you know, like V-neck style outfit, and she was also a first lady. I was putting in air quotes, but she was first lady of the church as well. But I just didn't realize that style has become like this Christian commentary, like where we're basically policing what you can and cannot wear. This is where I feel like the faith and culture are colliding, and there is no understanding on either side. Faith-wise, you know, we are supposed to be dressed modestly, or that's what we have been told. Because as I'm sitting here Googling what I'm looking for, like modesty in the Bible, right? It says, and this is the AI talking, it says it's an inward heart posture of reverence for God and others expressed outwardly through respectful, self-controlled actions and appearance, focusing on inner beauty, more like humility, gentleness, and over the ostentatious displays of wealth or self-promotion. And, you know, it gives you like the passages that it says and things like that. Because I think it's like respectful appearances in 1 Timothy, where it's saying women are encouraged to adorn themselves with modest apparel, with propriety and moderation. Because it even goes on like to talk about hair and things like that is what it's saying. But I would say go read for yourself. But here's my thing. I say this to say because in cultural relevance, Modesty is dictated by the person, not necessarily by faith. And in faith, sometimes we take it a little bit too literal, what the Bible is saying, because we're trying to look at what was written at that time period, in that time, for now. Yes, do I believe in being covered up? Exactly. I mean, I do. I have no problem with being covered up. However, when you are thick and when you are curvy, sometimes even if you're trying to be covered up or whatever, it's still going to be fitted or whatever. I feel like more so the issue for me with her outfit is it was flesh tone versus you could have put any other color underneath that and it probably wouldn't have even sparked a conversation outside of it being sleeveless. Now, what I don't like, and this is just me personally, I don't like you trying to police the appearance of somebody just because they happen to hold a position and or a title. Fun fact for me, at a time that I was really suffering from some things, didn't really realize I was suffering from them, I gained weight because for me, depression and anxiety or whatever it is you want to call it, food is my comfort. So I will eat my feelings because I don't want to deal with them. And I gained some weight. I had to get in front of my church and I had to do an announcement for the youth department. And I had on an outfit. It really wasn't super tight fitted looking from the front. But when the donk is donking back there, it's donking. However, this is to say, I stood up in front of the church. I did my announcements. And I didn't see any issue. I felt like I looked cute. When I looked back on camera, I was like, oh, she's cute with a little fascinator. All this. So I get pulled into a private little chat, which is now about to be public, with the first lady of the church. And she was like, someone complained about your outfit. And I was like, the tatas are covered up. It's past my knee. So what is wrong with the outfit? And she was like, do you mind turning around? I was like, no, I don't mind. And she was like, well, they were saying your panty line was showing. Clearly not my panty line. Clearly it's the girdle where I'm trying to pull everything in. And I told her, I was like, no, this is my girdle. I was like, you can't see the panty line. I'm like, you're seeing the line of the girdle. I'm like, because it's not whatever. I was like, but I've also gained about 10, 15 pounds in the last couple of weeks. And, you know, she was like, well, because the first lady was like, literally, I didn't see anything wrong with it. But someone else had an issue with my dress. And instead of them coming to me and saying something to me because they had perceived me in a specific way, it was an issue that was actually a non-issue because the first lady, like she said, I didn't see anything wrong with the outfit. She's like, I thought it was quite cute. And I'm like, she's not a person that's going to lie to me. She will tell me the truth, whether I want to hear it or not. But I say all this to say, stop policing people's appearance because you don't know what's happening in their home. Like me, if I gained all this weight, I'm not buying new clothes because I'm like, I know it's a depressive episode. I will slim down once I've come out of it or whenever I address whatever emotion I'm going through. But like I said, I say all this to say, I don't know where we have gotten as faith-based people to police other people's appearance, though I think I know what it is. Because for me, I really and truly do believe that for this outfit, everybody wanted to say, oh, she's a first lady. Technically, that may be true. And just because you are a first lady or the wife of a pastor does not mean that you happen to be saved, first and foremost. Does not mean that you are actually a woman of God. And I think that's where, when we come to the faith-based look at it, that's the issue. Because not that this dress breaks the internet or anything like this, but it stirred up so much ire within the black church, let me say it like this. And I was just like, why are y'all letting this one dress be the representation for all the first ladies? Because for me, in my faith-based walk, she is not somebody I look up to. he is not somebody that I listen to. And quite frankly, a lot of people, and this is not to say that this is his case, but a lot of people through the pandemic became, I guess I want to say, buzzworthy pastors. You know, you see them on social media and stuff, and they're just, they say buzzwords. I've never listened to the man preach. I don't know if he has a word from the Lord. He is not somebody that I aspire to listen to. Like I said, I listen to Pastor YPJ, my pastor, some other ones here locally in Memphis, and then some not here in Memphis, some Kojic. I think it's one other pastor. I really don't know what denomination he is, but I don't listen to him that often. I listen to him very sparingly. However, these people are not what I judge to be the top tier of Christianity. I don't. Like, a lot of people are like, well, she's the first lady, she should know better. Is she really a woman of God? Is she a woman of the world? Also, look at her fashion before she married this man. This is the type of things that she wears. So why are y'all shocked and surprised? Like, why are y'all giving them more credit than they deserve? Because, like, if I look up to someone, I'm looking up to someone like Karen Clark Sheard. She's the first lady of her church. She's the first lady of the Kojic church. I look up to her. Has she worn fitted stuff? Yup. Has her stuff been modest? Yup. I love her fashion. Like, she is someone I look up to. And also, the reason why I look up to her is not even just because of fashion. It is because she tries to emulate. And when I say try, because it's a trying thing every day, y'all know this. She tries to emulate the spirit of Christ. She's nice. She's kind. I've met her on multiple occasions, and she has been the same every time I have met her. She is always so kind. When I say, I can't say kind enough. She's so kind, and she's also nice. And those two are two different things. If you did not know, go look it up. But she's very nice. She's very kind. She is very, I'm not going to say she's necessarily soft-spoken. She speaks, softly. But if she needs to, she could, she can come warned in the spirit or whatever. But I guess for me, when it comes to this faith and culture clashing, y'all are giving more credence to cultural relevance versus faith relevance. Like I said, my mom let me listen to just a small clip of this other lady who's a first lady. I guess she's somewhere here on YouTube. And she was talking about this. She was like, I don't believe he's a man of God like that, because sometimes, guess what, people can have a church, have all of this, and have no God in them whatsoever. They speak well, and they can say buzzwords that makes you believe something because you already just there in your head. And that leads almost into the next part of this. But for me, I look at Jamal Bryant as an activist, because he was the one that called for the Target boycott, which it worked because people are still boycotting, myself included. But he called for that. He's more of I feel like a social change person versus a pastor. Because like I said, use pulpit, because he did address the internet about his wife's dress. For me, I wouldn't have addressed it at all, because feel how you feel, believe how you believe. Like, for me, she is not the representation for the black church or Christianity. Yes, dressed modestly, but it was more, like I said, for most people, it was just that it was flesh tone. Because the body, as the kids say, the body is tea, the body is banking. But like I said, she's not somebody I would use to represent my Christianity, my beliefs. Because if you've seen any of my outfits on my social media pages, I'm pretty covered up. Like, you're gonna see me in a good A-line dress. Like, that's my thing. The most you're gonna see is some legs, arms, and me in heels. There are a few dresses where, because I am heavy chested, I will safety pin that thing up, because I ain't trying to have nothing pop out. And that's for me personally. Now, if I'm saying I'm going out to dinner, like, I wore an outfit where you could see through it and see the bra, and I was like, I'm going to try this. I wasn't necessarily uncomfortable because I was in a darker restaurant, but that's not something that I would wear on a regular occasion. And it was for my birthday, and I was like, I want to do something that I've never done before. It was that step. So like mine was see through. You could see my skin through it, but it was still more. I was still covered up. And whether you liked it or not is that's your own thing. I did it for myself to have a little bit more confidence in my body, like because I love it. We're working on improving it, but that was something that I did for me. And I just feel like to me it's crazy that y'all as people, and I do mean y'all because it did make me know never mind what they want to put on her body, that y'all allowed this to become such a big thing in the faith-based world when you should just be preaching Jesus as you're doing it. And if you haven't figured out by now, this is really not one of those podcast episodes where we're just talking about, oh, this is trying to help you. Nope, this is me going on a rant about why I feel like y'all can do better as believers. And I say y'all because for me, if you're not in my sphere of thinking, thoughts, or any such nature like that, I don't care what you do. And I can't say, oh, well, she's representing Christ as the first lady. Is that church a faith-based church? Because, what's that dude's name? I think Mike, is it Mike Todd? Whoever it was that put the chocolate syrup on the Bible, I think it's Mike Todd. I don't consider him a representation for Christendom at all, because the Bible is a sacred text. Even though it's just a book, it's not. But it's always those with a negative thing or something that's buzzworthy or clickbait worthy that get the loudest. I mean, the loudest platform, the biggest platform, and they're heard louder than those who are preaching the truth and the gospel. That's all I got to say. And speaking of preaching the truth and the gospel, I don't know how many of you watched or if you have even seen it, but it's a TLC HBO, what is it? Cult of the Real Housewife. And this is talking about Mary, whatever her name is, from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Now, mind you, let me preface this by saying I don't watch the Real Housewives of anything. I remember when Atlanta was the first one and the only one. For me, I watched this documentary, and let's just say I say this to say, I'm not saying this against anyone who may have been in a cult, been raised in a cult, or has fallen for a cult, but at some point y'all have got to get some critical thinking. That's all I gotta say for first and foremost. So from watching this series, the one thing that I got from watching this is a healthy church versus a cult. Cults, they want to love bomb you, isolate you from family, friends, things like that. For me, a healthy church is I can go get the word, I can fellowship with people, and they're not asking for me to sacrifice basically my firstborn, my paycheck, or anything else. Like, I'm going to give my tithe and my offering, but the rest of that is wholly unnecessary. And for documentaries like this, because I do remember when this first, like the buzz of her having a cult came up, I remember it because it was early, right after the pandemic, that everybody was talking about it. And I was just like, well, I can watch Real Housewives, so I moved on from it. But for me, I feel like when you see stuff like this, it can be harmful for the church, and it can also not be. One is harmful because it makes you have like this skepticism towards leaders of the church, especially if they're asking you to, donate money or give money, which we know, if you really know and you have some critical thinking skills, a church is a nonprofit organization. Most operate as nonprofits. However, it takes money to keep a church functioning and going. The same way I got lights in this house, a church, they have light bills that they have to pay for. And if they're a mega church, they have a huge light bill because you have to light and heat these big buildings. So you have light bills, you have other things, and guess what? They have a mortgage if the church is not paid off. They still have bills, just like it's your house. In my head, it is either the financial department or the pastor's responsibility to make sure that everything is taken care of at the church financially. However, in this documentary, it talks about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Mary, like I said, I cannot remember this lady's name. Let's look it up real quick. But they talk about Mary and how, how she came to be the pastor. What is it? Mary Cosby. I was like, I should have known that last name. But how she comes to be the pastor of this church, and how she married her grandfather, step grandfather. But still, that's nasty. In the words of Tiffany Haddish, you're nasty. And that's from Girls Trip. But everybody's just talking about her, like, I grew up with her, she's this type of person, she's that type of person. She moves for the almighty dollar. And what amazes me in this is when you see the clips of, she's a child, she's with her mom. They have a estranged relationship before the mom died. But Mary out here just wilding out as a teenager, as a young woman, and I think of her late teens, early 20s. So she just out here wilding out, doing the most and then some. Everybody's talking about this, right? So then her sister says, because their grandmother comes from Indianapolis to found a church in Salt Lake City, she walks there. I mean, you can tell she's led by the unction of the Spirit to go do all this stuff. So she moves out there, takes the whole family, they walk from Indiana to Salt Lake City, Utah. So grandmother founds a church. She marries a man who's 20 years younger than her. She adopts some other children outside of the ones that she had. And, they just out here prospering in this church and doing all the things. While this church is prospering, like I said, Mary, she's growing up. Let's just say she's charismatic, because that's about the best word I can use. She's charismatic to a certain extent. She moves for the almighty dollar. She is also a mess starter. And Mary is just, like she said, she's marched to the beat of her own drum, which is to say, to do whatever I want. Mary's sister says that their grandmother, I think it's called disfellowshipped her from the church, because she was like, if you're not going to live right, now mind you, this is a Pentecostal based church, if you're not going to live right, you can't participate, which is a practice if I'm not mistaken, within most Pentecostal churches. If you're not going to get your act together, then you gotta go. So doing all the things, right? Grandmother dies. Now, mind you, when she disfellowshipped her, this is before the grandmother dies. She disfellowshipped her, so Mary's sister knew about it. Some other people knew about it. Grandmother dies. She's disfellowshipped, right? All of a sudden, this step grandfather of hers is calling around to people like, has the Lord revealed anything to you about me and Mary? You and your step granddaughter, or just granddaughter? Because I'm pretty sure most of us in the Black community don't say step unless we ain't rocking with you like that. So you calling around asking for this? I'm like, that's real creepy. So then they eventually get married. Now, he is 20 years older than Mary. And some type of way, because I guess he is stated that he took over the church after his wife died, which is Mary's grandmother, and is basically just moving right along with everything like it's no problem, no issue. And next thing you know, now Mary is the pastor of the church. Mary is, one, let me say this, I don't feel like, from what they said in this, you never see a spot where she gives her life to Christ or anything like that. You don't see any of that. So I'm just assuming she is what we would call her a heathen, just out here doing whatever. But she knows how to do, because she watched her grandmother do, also as well as her mother. So him and Mary get married. Her mother leaves the church, and a lot of people follow her out because they were like, this is nasty, this is messy, and we not doing this here, okay? So it was a mass exodus of a lot of people from the church. And a lot of other people stayed because brainwashing is a thing. And for me, watching this after they have done all this, then you start seeing this. I don't want to say desire, but this drive for Mary and her husband, which is still nasty, for these people to start giving money, for these people to start basically some type of way they start turning the church that her grandmother founded into a cult. And from this, I feel like it was easy for them to start manipulating these people because these people did not think clearly. They were led by an emotion of not wanting to disappoint the founder of the church, who, if you thought critically about this, she would have had a problem with this man marrying her granddaughter. She would have had a problem with her granddaughter taking over anything because her granddaughter was not living right and she was out here in these streets doing whatever it is she wanted to do. And we still don't know exactly what she wanted to do. And then to come to find out that even while having this cult, she's having affairs with some of the people in church. Or one man in particular they talk about. But I know he ain't the only one. And you can't tell me he's not. But I say this to say, because this is faith and culture of like the culture of a cult. In this, if you're giving up yourself for the leader and not necessarily your faith. Like a lot of these people stay because most cult leaders are very charismatic. They will love bomb you, make you feel a certain type of way, and then when you don't do what they've asked you to do, then they're causing trauma, abuse, all the things like that. And that even leads me to say within the faith community, because we're trying to base everything off the Bible, we create a lot of trauma that's unnecessary because what you've based off the Bible is just something that you feel like is the case and is not necessarily true. Because nowhere in the Bible does it say give up thyself for your church. It says for Jesus. It says take up your cross daily and walk with him. It does not say to do that and do all this. Because some of the people in the documentary were like, she got mad at us. And if you have HBO Max or TLC, just go watch it. Where they were talking about she was calling everybody stupid because they didn't give her the gifts and stuff that she wanted for her birthday and all of that. And I thought that was absolutely wild. Because I think the guy, he played the organ. He was like, I gave $1,000 in a card and she didn't say thank you. Why are you giving somebody $1,000 for their birthday? First off, I want to know what type of money is going out there in Salt Lake City because that means I need to go out there so I can get some too. But also, like, these people were mortgaging houses, like getting loans against 401ks and everything to give to this woman. And somewhere in there, like, they departed from the healthy practices that her grandmother started to now being in these unhealthy, toxic relationships with this woman. Like one woman, she has 2 siblings. They were also a part of this church. She left the church and she was telling her brother, hey, you need to stop giving them all your money because they're going to bleed you dry. You're not going to have anything. They, some type of way, convinced this man to stop talking to his sister. Then their other sister worked at the house with them and basically was not getting paid. She told her sister one day, I just want to go to sleep and never wake up. Who tells somebody that? Like, that is a dark place to be in. But I say all this to say the woman eventually does literally go to sleep and does not wake up. And they barred this woman from going to her sister's funeral. And I was like, the way that I would have came in their church and shut it down, please call the police because I'm here to embarrass you now. Oh, you don't want to let me see my sister? Watch me. And I grew up as an only child. I have a brother who is my half brother, but he's just my brother because in the black community, you family. Let somebody tell me I can't be his last. No. Baby, I'm turning over benches. I'm turning into Jesus. I'm flipping tables. Ain't nobody gonna have peace. Call the police. Let's start a scene. Because there's no way I would have agreed to it. She was like, I didn't get to say, any final word. Girl, I would have been all up in there. But for me, I just want to know, like, how you think, like, when there's a rumor of a cult or is a cult, that you can't, like, I just want to know what it is that these people have on you that you are afraid to act or move or do anything, because to me it makes no sense. Just like, I started watching another thing about the cult behind the killer, which it really HBO dropped the ball on this one. That's all I gotta say, because it's really not a cult that caused this woman to kill her kids. It was just a man who spoke very well and took everything in the Bible out of context, because he literally said in one of the clips that they showed that women are sinful, only women are sinful, because we're descended from Eve. And we have a sinful, witchy spirit. Sir, you read a couple of lines out of Genesis. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live, and murder shows together. Because all of us have sinned. Because if it wasn't for Jesus, we'd all still be living sinful lives. But technically, we wouldn't even be here, because God said he was done with us. Because I'm like, he flooded the earth the first time. And I mean, he was like, when I say done, he was big done. And Jesus said, no, let me go. Let me be the mediator between you and them. We only here because of the grace that the Lord gave us, for real, for real. And if you don't know it, please go read your word. But like I said, for this, I find it very fascinating for faith-based people, because we let little bitty things drive us to have this massive opinion about faith, when you know what, the one thing that we should all be doing is just like basically reading the Bible. Like I said, God literally told the Hebrews, have no false idols, do not worship false idols. And I feel like as a culture, we have started worshiping people as idols, which is why like the cult is so easy, because you start idolizing these people and they become your God and not God himself. Same thing with the dress. Like, y'all are idolizing this woman, like, oh, she did this, she shouldn't have done that. She's not important enough for me to even have a thought process on her, because ma'am, who are you? I don't know you. What do you do? I know you're a doctor or something. You got a PhD. I'm like, you're not an MD. And quite frankly, who cares about these people? Because it's more about your life and your walk and how you can merge faith and culture. Because like for me, I'm going to say this. I love Harry Potter. I'm a Potterhead. I love it. Like, my house used to be Gryffindor, but I realized, baby, I'm a Ravenclaw. I am. And I've had people say, when I don't listen to or watch or partake in anything Harry Potter, because it's full of witchcraft. The movies, yes. When you read the books, not so much. It started getting there towards the later books, but also I realized this is fantasy. Somebody, because I remember before me and my mom ever read it, because she read it before me, because I was like, I kind of want to read it, but she was like, I'm gonna read it to make sure you're good, because I was young when Harry Potter came out. And we were saying that they were saying, you know, doing curses to kill parents. No, that's the premise of the book, is that a curse killed the little boy's parents. That they weren't saying Merry Christmas, they were saying Happy Christmas. And it just goes to show like the ignorance of people, and I don't mean ignorance in a bad way, but Happy Christmas is something that they say in the UK, because this story is set over there. It's not an American story. And they do say Happy Christmas. Merry is not a word that they say. They say Happy Christmas. They say happy a lot of things. But happy and merry mean the same thing. Where they were saying they were giving, teaching kids to disobey their parents was a big thing. And in the book, he does not have parents. He has people that he stays with who aren't really taking care of him. Honestly, it's a book about abuse and abandonment in all of this, and having to learn right and wrong for yourself, because sometimes the adults in your life don't teach you that properly. Like, it's a lot of different things is going through, like him learning himself, learning about himself, learning right from wrong. And I know I may be reading too deep into it, but sometimes I feel like people are reading too deep into it just because it's witchcraft and stuff like that. It's also fake. I do know that witches and warlocks and all of that exist, but this is fake. This, when you start reading half of the stuff, half of it is written in Latin. Like some of the spells and things that they use or that she's written, it's literally a Latin word. And most people don't know Latin. They don't speak any of the Romance languages like Spanish, French, Italian. Some of that stuff is literally stuff that we would use in a different context, but now you just want to be like, oh, it's too much. And I mean, to each their own. I even had a friend, we were driving back from a church thing, and I was listening to the audiobook of Harry Potter while we were going. And she was like, I've never really listened to it. I was like, well, we'll listen to it today because I don't care. Boom, because I'm driving. And she started asking questions because the more you hear, you're like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was, because it's not. But you make assumptions based off of what other people say. And I will say this, do your own research. That's what I learned in college. Do your own research. When somebody tells me something, I'll be like, okay, let me go Google that for myself. Because I don't trust you, because messengers get the message wrong. Also, like, sometimes people say things wrong and they don't even realize they've said it wrong. Like, the other day, my pastor was like, the devil sends the bad weather. No. And, like, I was looking at my phone in church when he said that, and my head popped up, and I was like, sir, did you hear what you said? Because the devil doesn't send the bad weather. I'm like, he doesn't even control the weather. I was just like, you were trying to make a point of saying that the devil will stop you from coming to church because of bad weather, but I'm like, the way that you said it and the phrasing you used, they were right. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. That's all I gotta say. But I do want to hear some of your thoughts on the dress. Even though I know this dress happened like last year, but still, it was a thought because I still hear people talking about it. And I was like, please let it go. Also, I want to hear, because I haven't heard too many people talk about the cult of the Real Housewife, but I do want to hear your thoughts on that. Like, do you feel like it's just people are moving off of emotion versus critical thinking? Because I do feel like people do let critical thinking go out the window when it comes to faith. Like, you have to have faith and critical thinking. Like, Lord invented both. So use them, please. But that's all I got for you. I'll catch y'all next week, because like I said, I just had to get this off my chest. Next week should be fun. I don't know what we're going to talk about yet, but next week should be fun. So make sure you keep tuned in. Here, Save the Twist. And if you have any comments, questions, cares, or concerns of anything that you would like me to talk about or address, make sure you're sending me an email at savetwistpodcast@gmail.com. I will gladly talk about anything you guys send me, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.